You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on BQN and the Fandom Podcast Network. I am your host, Amy, and with me today are Christos and Kelvin. Patreon patrons, remember you can now watch All Good Things as an extended video edit of this very episode at patreon.com/BQN. Well, we have been on hiatus and hope that you were able to check out the view screen Season 4. All episodes are now available to watch or listen on YouTube. Just search BQN Podcasts. Now, let's talk to everyone. Kelvin, Christos, what have you been up to since August? And Kelvin, we had such a fun time at Season 4 view screen.
We did. You know exactly what I've been up to since August, Amy, because I've seen you every week on the
Yes.
view screens. One another fantastic season. I think we've really hit our stride now with the view screen of having the regular guests coming back season after season with the usual content, which makes it such a community event. And the way we showcase all of the shows on BQN, it's really nice. It's really rewarding. Although saying that, I've been so excited about getting All Good Things back going because it's so comfortable. It's like slipping on an old pair of slippers. We're edited. We're not live. It takes the pressure off. So yeah, I love the view screen, but very happy that we finished the season and we can wave it off now until the spring. Outside of that, well, it's been a really interesting week, Starfleet Academy wise. We've had the promo poster of everyone lay out on the grass, which has triggered a lot of people on social media. And then overnight, we've had the sneak peek preview clip, which is amazing. I am so excited about Starfleet Academy now. Bring it on. Not long to go.
Very good. You know, you do bring up a good point because we have been having now our regulars now that we've had 4 seasons. And it has built a really nice community. So yeah, good point. Christos, you were very instrumental in season 4 as well, since I had to duck out a week and you stepped up with some news. And then you also are one of our regulars with What's the T-Bev BQN Showcase Week. So how have you been?
Good. I continue to repeat that this has been the busiest year of my life. I was just looking at my airline miles for the year, and I have flown over 55,000 miles this year.
Oh, wow.
So just between work and play. So yeah, it's been kind of nice actually. I think November was the first month that I didn't go on a plane ride of the year. It's like I didn't go I had some other stuff going on that involved cars, but not planes. So it's been a busy year. I've been, and like I said, enjoyed doing view screen over the last couple of weeks while you guys were out. And just harking back to the Starfleet Academy stuff there. Yeah, I got really annoyed / concerned a few days ago when that poster of them, it looked very young adult, that poster promotional thing that came out a few days ago, kind of homage to a lot of other shows that have done that kind of that look. But I'm like, oh, this is not what I want to see out of my Star Trek. I don't want this big young adult, hormone show. But I was beyond happy to get that 4-minute clip yesterday out of the Chicago Comic-Con. Is that where that was aired? Yeah, the show looks good. The action was good. Who's the hot helmsman? I don't know. We're going to find out. Although Holly Hunter was wearing glasses, I thought that was another, I know I probably would just assume it's something being done to appease the actress's demands, but it kind of takes me out of it. But anyways,
Don't forget she's Lanthanite, so she's been around for hundreds of years. So she would have had glasses from back when we used them.
good point. Maybe that's just a little bit of Elia in her, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I like your headcanon. Thank you for that.
I think people keep forgetting that Tawny Newsome is writing for this. Like, let's continue to trust Tawny and how much we've seen her on the cruise and at conventions. Like, she loves Star Trek and she
Yeah.
is smart and brilliant. She's going to put in what I feel is Star Trek. So let's not forget that. And let's not,
Yeah.
you
I will
know, there's
also,
been a lot of negativity out there.
yeah, I will say what I've said to a few people, including myself. Like, we've always happens before we start a new Star Trek show. We question it, and everything that we think it's going to be is never what it turns out to be. So
Yeah.
I think every Kurtzman era show has proven that time and time again. We think we understand what the show is, and we get nervous, and then it premieres, and then we're like, oh wait, this is not what the show is at all. So that's why I just, I don't speculate all day, but I'll
Yeah.
keep a clear head still to go in there.
Exactly.
But yeah, Tawny Newsome I hope she has, I agree with your comment. I don't know how much control she has in the end. So
Mhm.
if she has more executive producer type, influence, then yes, it's gonna. I'm not worried at all. But if she's just one of 10 writers,
Mm.
sometimes
Yeah,
it's harder
there's limits.
to steer the ship. Yes.
Yeah. So Christmas, I think, or Santa came early, Christos, to San Diego, from what I
Yes, he did.
hear.
Yeah. Um,
Tell us about
yeah.
your build and how it's going.
Yeah, first off, I was in the Lego store yesterday because there was a missing piece to my set. And luckily, there's 2 Lego stores within a 15-minute drive of my house. So I went to get one. They actually still have the Enterprise D for sale at the Lego store here in San Diego yesterday. When I walked in, I was shocked because apparently they've been sold out. I don't know if the gift with purchase is still there, but hey, if you're listening, San Diego Fashion Valley had it yesterday as we are recording. Yeah, I was strategic. It was 9 p.m. on Thanksgiving evening, and we were just sitting around. And I was looking at my social media, and I saw that people were like, I ordered it. And like, oh, it's midnight on the East Coast. So yeah, I got into a queue that was like 10 minutes long, and I was able to order it. And I got it on Wednesday, and it's been consuming my free time ever since.
Mhm.
But it's really enjoyable, and it's more than just the aesthetic inside the Lego set. It feels like you're building key areas, like when you're doing the nacelles and whatnot. The structure in it actually looks a lot like the schematics and things that we've seen along the way. And it doesn't necessarily need to have that detail on the inside because you don't see it once it's built. But as the builder and as the Trek fan, you appreciate it, I think. It's kind of hard to. And I was talking, is like, even now where it's, my saucer section is probably about 45% constructed. It literally is kind of cool because it looks like it's, when we've seen the episodes with, what's her face, Leah Brahms, we saw like Enterprise being built in those flashbacks.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of looks like that, and it's kind of really cool that way. So it kind of, from a really big nerd point of view, you really feel like you're kind of building the Enterprise, not just sort of putting together some Legos. So good times. And
Awesome.
I do
We
have
need
to
to
call
get
out.
the Enterprise D blueprints out.
Yes, exactly. And I will call out just, to be completely on brand. The very, very first step of this whole thing is assembling the Beverly Crusher actions or little Lego miniature. So she is step 1.
Oh
So
my gosh, I love it.
As she should be.
Yeah.
as she should be. I loved Kelvin's little comment to me earlier in my DMs that it was because, with Legos, you have the head, the torso, the legs, and the hair. Beverly's definitely wearing a wig. Because you had to put her
Not
hair on.
season 7, Bev.
Oh.
It's probably season 3, Bev.
Okay. Well, let's get to the reason why we're here, and that is all good things. So, Christos, why don't you introduce our topic for today?
Sure. We are actually doing part 6 of our alternate realities series, and it's Strange New Worlds season 1, episode 10, A Quality of Mercy. And the little synopsis of this episode reads, just as Captain Pike thinks he's figured out a way to escape his fate, he's visited by his future self, who shows him the consequences of his actions. Um, Period. So before we even jump into that, I just was commenting offline with you guys, and I wanted to reiterate this for the listeners. First off, this episode looks phenomenal. Even for Strange New Worlds, I don't think I've watched this episode since season 1. Maybe because I think of it as a heavy episode, and I don't like necessarily to pick one-offs that are really heavy, unless it's really good. So I felt like in some ways it's been 2 or 3 years since I've seen this episode, maybe. So it did feel a little fresh to me, but I think after watching a lot of Kelvin or of Berman era Star Trek the last couple of days, I was just blown away at how beautiful this episode looks. I just wanted to comment on that. From the production, the 4K, the resolution, the special effects, it's gorgeous.
Before we get into the time travel aspect, I actually watched this episode about 10 weeks ago when we were supposed to record the All Good Things review. And one of the very first things I noticed, because it was very soon after season 3 had just finished, and people were saying season 3 was a little underwhelming as a season of Strange New Worlds. I really, really enjoyed rewatching this episode. It's so good. And it was the tonic that I needed after the underwhelming season 3 to remind me what a good series this is.
I agree with that. I actually was thinking that this morning. I was like, this is how good, this is Strange New Worlds, is what I was thinking. This is what I expect. And this is why I felt the way I did about season 3. So I think sometimes you just have to go back and say, hey, like, if you look at what we had before, you see the shortcomings and what that means. Not that season 3 didn't have its good beats. It's still pretty, it's all right. It's good, but it's like, that was great.
Yeah, that was, you can see the quality when you compare the two. Because, I really enjoyed season 3. And I was like, stop being so negative. But then it's like you come back to, an episode like this and, okay, all right. There's some.
Or the difference.
Yeah, there's a difference. In my recordings over on Union Federation, we're in our Q episodes, and we just covered Tapestry. And so this has a little bit of Tapestry, but instead of Q, it's our the crystals, the time crystals. And so it's like, okay, what point would you come back to? And for Picard, it was getting stabbed in the heart. And obviously for Pike, it was writing this very small letter to
Mott.
to Ma'at, that it was this tiny small event, that this is the one event that is going to change history. And I was like, okay, butterfly effect right there. I thought that was so interesting, and especially comparing it to what we saw in Tapestry. Like, can you pinpoint a tiny choice that you've made, and then in hindsight, it be so significant?
Yeah. So first off, I watched Tapestry Wednesday night just out of like entertainment for the Lego. So it was perfect timing. I was actually thinking about Tapestry as I was watching Quality Mercy. I guess it's kind of like the same thing, just done a different way, but not in a copycat way is what
Right.
it was done right. But I love that this has nothing to do with Pike. This is all about Spock's destiny and how other events affect what happened to Spock. And that's what unravels the time. Spock is the key here. And it's all about how all this affects what happens to Spock. And that's why it's important.
Yeah, I would like to put a pin in that because, yeah.
I don't get it. Not jumping ahead of the script, but I just like the writer's take on that this is not about that.
Right. And that it's because this whole alternate timeline was so that Pike could recognize there's got to be a price to pay. And it's either going to be you or it's going to be Spock. And if we were to redo this episode and touch the time crystal, it may be someone else paying the cost, you know? So, yeah, that's interesting.
Well, it's kind of funny when you think of that, like just swinging it back to Tapestry. Like, we didn't even touch on that in Tapestry, right? That all the things that Picard did later, right? And, whatnot, and the Borg and all that, like, how would that have gone down? So Tapestry itself could have been, exponentially more explored. But, like, it's this idea, I think that, it's a selfless idea, right? Like, there's, not just Spock, right? But the millions of people that we are foreshadowed that there's the consequence of this Romulan Earth War, Federation War, and the consequences of millions dying versus, one person's sacrifice.
Yeah. Before we move on to my answer to Amy's question, I saw a Instagram post earlier today and someone was playing with the Lego and they put Picard's head on Beverly's body and they put Data's head on Riker's body. And they went, oh no, I've been sent the Tapestry Picard and the Redemption Data. It's just really funny. So it just linked Tapestry and Lego together. I couldn't not say that.
I think you can have a field day with that.
So I was considering this point earlier, Amy, about what would my fixed point be. And again, we talk Tapestry, but we talk parallels, really. Any decision we make splinters off into a different quantum reality.
Mm-hmm.
The one I was thinking of was I usually go into work mode when I answer these questions on the show. And several years ago, when I was serving on the board of directors, I implemented a restructure of my department. And it was my idea to do so. I looked around and there was a team that it just wasn't working. We weren't getting what we wanted out of that team, not from an individual performance, but just a strategy. So I did a restructure and basically made the roles and the team redundant. And clearly it affected individuals who were in that role and they left the business. And then in the benefit now of hindsight, I look back and think, didn't actually make that material a difference to the company performance. So I have a lot of guilt over, I cost about 6 people their job by making this decision. And it's, if you've ever been through a redundancy situation, it's incredibly stressful if you've got mortgages, families, whatever.
Yeah.
And, there were tears, these people that I had put at risk. And it's not nice. And it didn't really make a difference. So, I regret doing it. I wouldn't have made the decision to do it had I known it wouldn't have magically transformed the performance of the business. So to me, this whole thing of not saving myself like Pike, because there was no aspect of me saving it, but I was the decision maker here and it had the consequence on others who I commanded.
Right.
Yeah. Kelvin, another way to look at that is, I can put that in my shoes. Like when I was 21 years old, I was let go from Banana Republic, retail job, blah, blah, blah. I was working full time there and whatnot. Well, that being laid off and that reduction led me to go work at a temp agency the following week that sent me to the job I'm at today.
Wow.
6 years later. So you never know. It might have been a hard moment, but that could have been a push for somebody else to a better path or a different path. So you never know, how that unravels. I always think about, if we're talking about the divergence point, I had a choice at 17, 18 years old. Do I go to Wright State University in Ohio or do I go to the University of Hawaii? we probably wouldn't know each other if I didn't make that
Mhm.
decision to go to Hawaii and the things that ensued because of that decision later. So life is full of those inflection points
Yeah.
and,
I bet you've got a few, Amy, haven't you? Should I open the Merlot or the Cab Sauv?
Um, I'm in a contemplative point in my life right now, so that's why I was discussing this. Because I'm at a point where I'm trying to figure out where could I have done better? That's sort of where it's like, okay, well, where's this point that I could have changed? And I don't know if you watch Loot. It's on Apple TV with Maya
I
Rudolph.
do.
Um, and the boyfriend that she's dating narrows it down to the one instance in his life where he wore khakis for the rest of his life because of something that happened when he was like 15, and then he's just worn khakis the rest of his life. And I mean, although you don't want to be stagnant like that, but I enjoy the mental gymnastics in my mind of going, okay, where is that pinpoint that I could have changed and would that, and then do the thought experiment to see where would that be. Like, I'm literally reliving Quality of Mercy in my mind with every decision. Um, it's tiring. It's so and so it's
So
very difficult for me.
It's so good for you, though. It's,
Yeah.
we should all be reflective and critical and evaluate our decisions. I think the world would be a better place if more people did that.
so funny
Yeah.
how we are all wired a little differently. I do believe that it's important to look back at and think about things, but I also it's not great to dwell too much on the past.
Yeah.
It's important to learn from the past,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
Yes.
you do need to move forward and you can't always be looking behind you. You have to look forward and you can't beat yourself too much up over the
Yeah.
path not taken, right? Because we all can do that, right? And we
Mhm.
don't
Mhm.
know. You'll never know if right or left was the better decision. Even if you think left was a bad decision because this happened, maybe right could have been worse and you don't know
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah. Yeah, and agreed. And I'm again dealing with this finding the balance because you do need to learn from the past, being that self-reflective in order to reach a goal that you have in the future. So I'm trying to find that balance. And I love it. It's so delicious and chewy for my brain. So, do you think that Pike, who had these time crystals? Future Pike? Is he going to come back and do this again?
Is Pike going to meet his destiny, or is there going to be another twist in season 5 that shows he gets out
Yeah.
of it in a way?
I feel like the whole season 1 of Strange New Worlds was about getting him to accept his fate, and he does that
Mhm.
in A Quality of Mercy, and so that's why I don't think it's been brought up really since then. And I applaud that. I don't want this whole show to be about Pike being, you know, afraid of the future and, second guessing and did I do this or do I do that? I think that's not entertaining after a while. So I'm glad we had that arc especially between episode 1 and episode 10. There's for Pike, that evolution of his character. But yeah, I hope we don't see future Pike again. I don't know I think we visited that and we don't need to see it again.
Yeah, and we did a lot in season 3
Yeah, don't
with
forget he got the gift
yeah,
from Battelle, which shown him the life he's not going to have. So
yeah.
you've experienced it, so you can die.
Yep. This episode shows us that Pike's attempt at diplomacy with the Romulans was the fail. That was the wrong choice. And Kirk's actions to attack, like in Balance of Terror, was correct. How do we feel about that? Is that better? Do we want this brute force over diplomacy? Is that the message we want? Is that the Gene Roddenberry vision?
I remember feeling very strongly about this at the time the episode aired, as to, at first, I didn't know how I feel about Paul Wesley arriving and here's Kirk. And now that kind of slow move of everything being about Kirk, I was very passionate. Strange New World is Anson Mount's Christopher Pike's show. So to show him in the wrong in this episode,
Yeah.
I didn't like it. But as the years have gone on, and as I've grown to really like Paul Wesley as Captain Kirk, I like the vulnerability aspects of it and the realism that hero or no hero, captain of the ship, you can't be right all the time.
Mm.
But I like the point of difference between the styles of leadership. So I was thinking things like, what would someone else have done in this situation or in another situation in all of Star Trek? So I was thinking about Jellicoe in Chain of Command. How many times have you heard Jellicoe, he's an arsehole, he's terrible, what a bad captain? No, he was just really different than Picard and he got the job done.
Yes.
So would Picard have mined the Cardassian ships in Chain of Command like Jellicoe did, which won the battle? Probably not. So the fact Kirk approached this situation completely different than Pike in the original Prime episode of Balance of Terror, which this is the do-over of, it gives a really good punctuation of styles of leadership, which again is something I love to study, different ways of managing teams.
Well, and I think it goes to, again, finding this balance, because there comes a point when you have to gather information and then make a decision. And we saw that in Discovery's A Vulcan Hello. Like, it was, you need to say hello the Vulcan way. We're not going to do diplomacy. These are the Klingons. Let's give them a Vulcan hello. That's how they did it. And to a smaller extent, Wesley in Coming of Age was season 1 as his little Starfleet, and he recognizes which alien race was that?
The Zoldans, I
The
think.
Zoldans, yes.
Yeah.
And if you remember, they had the webbed hands, and Wesley recognized that, and so spoke to him like very rudely because that was his culture. And then Wesley got the bonus points. Oh, good job. You recognized that. Good job, Wesley. But that's the same type of message. Like, yeah, you need to gather enough information and then make the choice. And Pike, I think, was still in that gathering information. And Kirk was like, all right, we've had enough. They've crossed into our territory. They've been attacking us. Like, let's answer.
Yeah.
So I have one more extra perspective to this. First off, I don't necessarily appreciate it, like Kelvin said, that, oh, this is Pike's show and suddenly Kirk's here doing it better and showing him why Kirk is superior. Kirk is not superior all the time, and I think that's what we're trying to show here. Imagine this episode, though, with one thing happening differently. On the Romulan warbird, the officer that calls back to the Romulan fleet, not the commander, but the guy. Had that not happened, would Pike's approach worked? Would these two ships have had a dialogue and potentially the beginning of a peace talk? Or is this one commander not necessarily representative of the fleet? Because we had that one commander not called back to the Romulan fleet, things would have turned out a whole lot differently. You know, Spock probably would not have gotten hurt to the extent that he did and everything else. So there are some outside adjutants that, that are things that are beyond control. So that was one thing I was thinking about when I was watching. I was like, hey, this one guy changed the whole dynamic of how things were going. It was like this little, so that's something to think about here. But yeah, I did like, though, how it's just like this whole other take of this whole battle could have gone a whole different way had, whether it was Kirk or Pike. I like the analogy, though, to Vulcan Hello. And I think that should have been like studied at some point, maybe a little bit more, you would think that, Hike lived through Hike was away when the war started. But like I would think Burnham's actions and that what started the Klingon Federation War probably would be like practical
Knowledge.
point. You know what I
Wouldn't
mean?
that
Like
be common
yeah,
knowledge?
yeah. Like
Because we saw him in season 2, because I was thinking about this as I was watching about it, and it's like, yeah, why don't they reference a Vulcan hello? That is the perfect time, because that would have happened season 2, which would have been their history. So it would have made sense to
Yeah.
Kirk
Recent
could have
history as
said.
well.
yeah, like
And there
it's
wasn't
like
the
2 or 3
big
years.
no, we can't talk about Discovery until the end
Yeah,
of
'cause
season 2.
yeah, you don't talk about how the end of season 2 happened, but everything else is fair game, right? That was the
Exactly.
Shinzon.
So that's a little missed moment there from the Strange New Worlds writer.
Yeah,
I
I think
think
that would have.
it just stings a little bit for me, the whole Kirk's approach, both in this episode and Balance of Terror, just because it really highlights to me that I am very much more like Christopher Pike in the way I perform rather than Kirk. I hate violence. I don't like fights. I'm not aggressive. I like to lead with diplomacy and humor. That's me as a person. So I really like Pike's approach. So I
Yeah.
I didn't like the over, in my opinion, over. I get what you said, Christos, about the Romulan Centurion there in the background, but to me, it did read quite overt as diplomacy won't win in this situation. You need to roll your sleeves up and have a fight.
Yeah.
Your
So
question, Christos?
I had a hypothetical for you. I was thinking about this as Kelvin was talking. Like, I feel like I'll change the way I said. Like, I was going to say, what would Picard have done? I feel like Picard would have done more like Pike. Janeway would have done more like Kirk.
Yeah, and Cisco.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Cisco. Yes, agreed. So it's kind of
Yeah.
funny. And on all of those and I guess my point was being that all of those are great captains and people that,
Yeah.
we look at their they have their different styles and their different strengths as well.
Yeah.
I think Archer would have been more Pike.
I would
Early Archer.
Early Archer. Yeah.
Season 1 Archer would. Season 4
Indy.
Archer would.
Yeah, that's true.
But you can apply this to any episode. So if the Defiant was thrown into the Delta Quadrant and arrived at the Caretaker's Array, would Cisco have blown up the Caretaker's Array to save the Acompa and stranded them there? I don't think he would. I think Cisco would have gone home. I don't think Cisco would have been on set on the Voyager journey that Janeway would.
I think we should put a pin in this and start a what if series.
They're out there. It also will make me very unpopular.
We could go all day with
everyone
hypotheticals.
when I'm going for their favorite captains.
What if Kirk fired at Khan first and Wrath of Khan? It could have, or put his shields up like 10 seconds earlier. What if?
All right. Well, let's move on to our assimilations and regenerations. If this is your first time listening, welcome. This segment, assimilations, these are going along with our Borg theme of BQN, are things that we enjoy, we would like to assimilate. And regenerations are the ones, nope, we are going to send that back. So I would like to start with an assimilation that I loved. I love when Spock was telling Pike, oh, well, Una is still locked up. And it's like, why? And he's like, well, because of what she's done. And, that foreshadowing of what we see in very early season 2, I loved it. And a callback to, because we know she's Illyrian.
We do know that at this point.
Yeah, we do know that now. So it's both a callback and a foreshadow. So I love that.
And we do know that Pike knows at this point.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, by that episode 10. So.
Yeah, so that's a good assimilation.
Yeah,
I have a fast foreshadowing moment as well. which is quite confusing once you've seen season 3 with the way La'an's character is changed so much. But
Yeah.
when we see happy La'an in this episode hug Pike and he's like, oh my God, what's going on? I remember watching this or rewatching this episode early in season 2 when they've planted the seeds of La'an fancies Kirk. And I went back and thought, oh, so this means La'an is going to serve on Kirk's ship. Maybe they get together. So that's where I thought this was going as a foreshadow moment, that there was a hint at a relationship that they then fueled in season 2 over then changed
Right.
their mind and now she's with Spock. So that was my foreshadow assimilation.
Yeah.
And I just love Christina Chong so much. So it was great to see her happy in the future.
So, Kelvin, my question was going to be for you is like, do they actually, I mean, she's happy and she's on the Farragut, yes, but do they actually ever imply that there's anything between her and Kirk?
No, not
No,
okay.
that's what makes it.
That
It's
was
the
my-
tea.
I think that might have just been an idea from there, maybe like to your point, but like, I was like, no, because like tomorrow hasn't happened yet. And, like, is it really a foreshadow or is it just kind of like a happy, just happy happenstance? I don't know. But
happy
you're
hint.
right. It could be a happy hint. I want to just call back to I'm going to make 2 comments here and kind of in one. First off, the use of the monster maroon. I remember being very excited about that when I first saw this episode. But I want to just call, like, when the time shift first happens and Pike is proceeding over the wedding, I remember being giddy the first time I saw this episode. Like, oh my God, we're doing Balance of Terror. Like when it just clicked. That's what we're going to go do is Balance of Terror, but in a different fashion. It hit me immediately, because the casting was good enough that they resemble the actors from the original series episode, the couple getting married and whatnot. So I just want to call back, like, some of the casting is a great assimilation because it was enough to, as a Trekkie, make that connection right away. What we were about to go through.
I love that. Yes, you're right. When he pops into the weddings, you're right. It totally gets you TOS vibes.
Yeah. Well, there'd be people who watched this episode who don't know Balance of Terror, who've not watched that original series episode, so they won't realize that we've jumped into the storyline of an original series show. But I love the explicit slap in the face moment of that zoom in on Spock when he raises his eyebrow when the Romulans are revealed on the view screen. It's the direct, exact scene from Balance of Terror. They even put the music in there. It is so overt and call it an Easter egg or what, I don't know, but I just think what a brilliant move to get Ethan Peck to replay a classic Leonard Nimoy moment.
I'm going to ask a quick, not hopefully derailing question. If you haven't seen Balance of Terror, does it really affect your ability to enjoy this episode? I mean, you really feel like you've missed out?
As one who completely forgets all TOS episodes, I can say that it did not. And the fact that talking about Balance of Terror just makes me feel ashamed. I did not make the connection to that or jumping in. So no, it does not.
Okay. Fair
Use
enough.
my check card there.
Amy, I'll make you
My
feel
TOS.
better. There's about 5 TOS episodes that I know really well, and I couldn't tell you crap about the other ones. So it's, until we have to watch it until we have to do an episode review for us,
Right,
here,
exactly.
And then I go watch. I'm like, why are we watching one of the worst episodes ever?
But go and watch Balance of Terror, Amy, this afternoon after this now, because you'll really enjoy it.
Yes. And again, credit to the writing that no, you don't need to know. But if you do and remember, let's add that caveat, then it will make this episode even more enjoyable.
I've got one last assimilation. I don't know if you noticed, but Uhura had a somewhat custom uniform on in the future, and it was a lot more in the style of the original series with the black trim and it was just so lovely to
The,
see
Yeah.
that
big,
evolution.
the big neck that was a little bit more.
Yeah.
creepy.
Yes.
I noticed that right away. Again, I kind of had wished that they had taken the black panels off the. If they're going to redo her a new outfit, let's just take the black panels off, and it would have been almost
Mm.
perfect replica.
And I loved her earrings. In the future, like total Nichelle Nichols callback. And one was green and one was black, which I thought was awesome. Just something different to keep it fresh and new. All right, regenerations. What are we sending back?
I've got a huge continuity one. Of course I have.
Yes, you do.
Of course you
So
do.
this episode introduces Paul Wesley as Captain Kirk. So let's think where we are now. This episode is 2259, season 1 of Strange New Worlds. And also the time jump is into 2266, which is season 1 of the original series. So there's nothing suggesting that anything else has changed apart from Pike doesn't die earlier that year. So all of the rest of Strange New Worlds that we didn't know when we watched this episode, but we do know now because we've had season 2 and we've had season 3, which is littered with with Lieutenant Kirk and then Commander Kirk. So why do they all behave as though they've never met him in this episode? They introduced, tell me about, who were you? Where were you from? They know him. He's been there for years. So
we had that famous
themselves with this episode to get season 2. The whole, why are you always on my ship?
I think one thing, maybe I have a loose explanation, but the comment that at the end of the day, when he's talking, when Pike and Pike are talking, there will always be variations, there'll always be different things, but it always comes back to Spock and his destiny and whatnot. So there might be fluctuation, like even just the events of tomorrow could have changed things fundamentally, correct? Like there's other time travel things that have happened, the ripple effects. There's other little things that'll change. It's like the con history has been kind of rewritten. Yeah. Things will happen, but other things may interfere, but these key events will always happen. So maybe
it's just another example of why they should have rang me up and said, this is what we're planning. Can you see any problems with that, Kelvin? I would say, yes.
And how easy of a fix would that have been?
Them. Oh, my lights are gone.
Kelvin needs to be supervising script editor.
Janitor, I'll take that. Anything.
No, you need to be timeline consistent. Kelvin's timeline. This is it. Yes. This is your calling. Fix the time.
We don't have enough time to talk about time.
Can we just pause a little moment and give props to Marina Sirtis and how active she's being on Instagram? If you haven't, please start following her. She's now back, just appreciating, sharing her love with the fans, telling us about her life. I love it.
It warms my heart as well. Yeah. And the kind of the naivety of, she's not hugely social media savvy. You can tell she's doing this herself. Yeah. She hasn't got some marketing little twink doing it for her. It's all her. And it's just so cute. And have you noticed Michael Dorn has started as well now?
Yes.
He's getting the rest of them to do it.
Yeah, because he's like, the Klingons, let me set you straight because I'm the author of that, I'm like, you go, Michael Dorn. Sorry, that was a huge side.
No, I'm here for it.
All right, regenerations. Christos, any from you?
I think my biggest one, maybe it's just a personal preference, but I didn't like Ortega's being xenophobe in the episode. That's a direct callback to Balance of Terror. She's literally being that other guy's voice that was in that episode, and she's kind of filling that role of being a little bit xenophobic. First towards Spock, and that didn't last nearly as long as it did in Balance of Terror. They kind of shut down the Spock thing and the suspicion against him. But just this whole idea that, all Romulans are bad and to the point where Pike just literally yells at her, which is very
And
un-Pike.
it's quite strong as well,
It's
isn't it?
very, I was actually like, oh, because, we've had about 30 episodes of Strange New Worlds, and that felt like the few times he does that. So I just think it's a little bit too much for me. And it's a little bit like, I don't like what it does for Ortegas' character. I think it paints her in a bad light. That's what I don't like about it. Because I like
Yeah.
Ortegas.
Agreed. Another regeneration for me is, and a lot of people have said this online, so I can't take credit. There was a huge casting missed opportunity. So in Balance of Terror, that Romulan Commander Decius was played by Mark Leonard, Sarek. So they could have got Jason Frayne, Sarek, to play that character, and everyone, all the fans would have gone, yeah, I see what you've done there. And it would have been so lovely and
It's very
continued the
meta.
little Discovery universe into Strange New Worlds a little
Yeah.
bit. So huge miss. Although, just remind me, if this commander is called Decius, wasn't the Romulan ship in Future Imperfect called the Decius? So if they'd named a ship after him in TNG, it must have been a notable Romulan commander.
Not somebody who gets executed by the Romulan fleet.
Yeah, not a very good legacy for a named hero.
I think if we're speaking about regenerations in general, I do feel like, as we've mentioned Discovery a few times here in our discussion today, I feel like there's been a lot more. They could have pulled from season 1, season 2 Discovery a little more. Like, I would love to see Chancellor Laurel, in Discovery, and some of these other people that we missed, that we were introduced to, that would still be around. I mean, I think Amanda is probably the only
one
person who came over, same actress and whatnot. And so, yeah, I think there's some. I hope that maybe they visit that. We have about 16 episodes left of Strange New Worlds before it finishes up, and I hope we see maybe a little bit more callback to the Klingons and whatnot.
All right, well, let's jump into some trivia. Kelvin, start us off.
Okay, the title references a quote from William Shakespeare's play The Merchants of Venice, as well as a Twilight Zone episode of the same name, which featured a load of Trek actors. So Leonard Nimoy. It also had Dean Stockwell in the Twilight Zone episode, who played Colonel Gratt in Enterprise's Detained, but more recognized he was in Quantum Leap as well as the hologram. And then we had Michael Pataki, who I couldn't remember who he was, but he was the loudmouth Klingon on Station K7 in The Trouble with Tribbles. He said the Enterprise should be hauled away as garbage. So there's a lot of Trek connections there just from the title of this episode.
Well, coincidentally, the phrase "a quality of mercy" is also recited in the Orville episode Domino, which was written by Brannon Braga, we know, and Andre Bormanis. And that was streamed only a few months after this episode in Strange New Worlds.
Well, with the addition in this episode of Paul Wesley, he becomes, and I think to this day is, the 6th actor to portray the role of James T. Kirk. Obviously, William Shatner originated the role. We had, in our little bit of body swapping, mind swapping, Sandra Smith portrayed Kirk while in Janice Lester's body in TOS. I think that's one of the last episodes of TOS, right?
Yes.
Isn't the last episode Turnabout Intruder?
Is.
I think it is. Oh,
we covered it in our series.
I'm all right with some of my rando Trek history. We have 2009 Trek with Baby Kirk, played by Joy Denver. Is that a girl that played Baby Kirk? Maybe
Deaver, maybe.
I don't know. Daver. I don't know. So, Jimmy Bennett plays Punk Child Kirk, the one that drives the car over the ledge, and Chris Pine plays Adult Kirk.
Well, Ortegas behaves similar to Lieutenant Stiles, who was the Enterprise's navigator during the incident in the Prime timeline. Both jump to the conclusion that the attacking vessel is Romulan before it is proven. and both advocate for firing on the Romulan ship. While Ortegas's aggressive demeanor towards Romulans are for reasons unknown, Styles explains of losing ancestors during the Earth-Romulan War. Ortegas's snarky but good-humored behavior still displays by asking about the pointy-eared elephant in the room.
Okay, I like this one. In the Prime timeline, George, or Sam Kirk, as he's called, left Starfleet when his brother became captain of the Enterprise, and that was established in the episode What a Little Girl's Made Of. So as James Kirk has not taken command, Sam, his brother, remains on board. So does this mean that the effects of this episode also save Sam Kirk from his fate of dying on Denver?
Probably. I would say that's like, that's a good point. I think that would be a fork in the road, unless you like believe in like that Final Destination kind of trophy. Once you're earmarked for death, you're earmarked for death. But I think you're right. I think that would have changed his path.
Yeah.
Yep. Pike retains memories of his visit to the future and is now aware of the Vulcan-Romulan similarities, as confirmed in Strange New Worlds 4.5 Vulcans. A fact that does not become general knowledge until Kirk's prime timeline encounter with the Romulans. It's very interesting. I get that this idea that we don't know what Romulans look like was established way back in Balance of Terror, and for canon purposes, we have to maintain that. It doesn't make sense to me. We fought the Earth-Romulan War. There wasn't one escape pod recovered, one dead body recovered from all the battling, where let's do a autopsy and find out what we're fighting. We fought a whole war with them during Archer's timeline, and we didn't recover one corpse to say this was a Romulan. That's a little bit of suspended in disbelief. And also, once again, I understand it was all established back then. But the idea that pointy ears means you're the same species, I get that we're trying to illustrate an allegory for racism and whatnot. But, we've seen humanoids look like Earth. We've met plenty of humanoids in Star Trek that look just like Earthlings, but they're aliens. We've met, this idea that humanoids are, different or the same. It happens a lot in Star Trek. Even like just the old school Klingons look human other than some bad face makeup, so it doesn't land as hard for me. It's a little bit like I have to suspend disbelief to buy into these, some of these comments that are being made just to make them.
Yeah. Well, Kirk mentions his father serving aboard the USS Kelvin, tying in with the backstory of Star Trek 09. Before moving to the USS Charleston. Though the audio is cut off, he appears to state that his father later moved to Tarsus 4, tying into James Kirk's backstory established in The Conscience of the King.
And finally, the alternate future Pike was an updated version of the Starfleet uniform introduced in the 2270s, the Monster Maroon, with the rank insignia of Rear Admiral. So this episode marks the first time in live-action appearance of that uniform, or a hybrid, since Voyager's flashback.
Really? That's interesting. And that's what, 30-some years, so
Wow.
it's about to be 30 years next year.
Can't even believe it's been that long. All right, guys. Well, what an amazing discussion. How are we feeling about this episode? Is it a good example of an alternate reality? Does it fit in with others that we have covered, which would be Voyager's Timeless, Enterprise Twilight, TNG's Yesterday's Enterprise, DS9's The Visitor, or Picard Penance? Those are some heavy hitters.
I'd say so. Oh my God, there's some really good episodes here.
I remember having this exact conversation the last time we did an alternate realities episode, and these are top tier Trek episodes. All of those, all of them.
Yeah, there's not a stinker in here. Oh well,
Okay,
so
so
I'm gonna use some easy like math for me here. I believe I chose yesterday's Enterprise last time, so basically I can eliminate all the others and say yesterday's versus Quality of Mercy. And one of them is going to be like nostalgia crazy. I remember yesterday's Enterprise. I remember being like my young mind being like blown away, and like probably the way this made my brain think differently as a young lad was probably like a lot to do with who I am now. But is it better than the Quality of Mercy? I'm having a hard time. Anybody else have any more comments to make before we choose?
I'm in exactly the same boat. I chose yesterday's Enterprise last time, but this episode is worthy. What I said earlier about being blown away at the quality of this episode as Strange New Worlds, but with the homage it pays to Balance of Terror as well. It's fine work, but I will land on the decision that yesterday's Enterprise is one of, if not the best episode of Star Trek in entirety, not just The Next Generation. So I will plant my flag with Denise Crosby and stick to my guns of yesterday's Enterprise. This one was good, but not good enough, damn it. Not good enough.
Yeah. my only critique of yesterday's Enterprise, if you really want to like nerd into it, would be like, there's, the divergence point is the destruction of the Enterprise C, right? That's what changes everything. Did it help defend the Klingons, i.e. leading to peace? And then because of that, it didn't. Then we've had 20 years of war. I think the only thing I would say is I would think things have been a lot more different on the Enterprise 20 years later, not just, it's a battleship and Denise Crosby's still there because she didn't get killed. And there's no Worf because we don't have peace.
No Troy.
Otherwise, and there's no Troy. So I'm going to go with yesterday's Enterprise just because, but I would say it's still close for me.
What about you, Amy?
Yeah, so listening to you and the struggle is real to make a decision. So I'm like, okay, what's going to be my criteria? So I'm just going back to, is it a good example of an alternate reality? And I understand how the time infraction happened. I know why it happened. It was clear. And as I look at these other lists, and again, this is just because my memory sucks. Like I know like the visitors calling to me, but is that a dream? I can't, like the how it happened. And then I remember Twilight, Timeless, I don't even remember, and I don't remember Penance. So with Quality of Mercy compared to yesterday's Enterprise, I'm with you, is what I'm saying. That was the long answer.
Penance is the Confederation episode.
Still.
Yeah, with President 7.
Oh, and so that was the Q causing it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. What caused it with the visitor?
The wormhole inversion. Cisco got zapped and he went into a subspace kind of.
Oh, so wormhole.
band.
Oh, I like that. Okay. Yeah, okay. I'm going today because I get to change my mind all the time. I am going Quality of Mercy for those reasons. I feel visually stunning, but because I know why and I know how, and it wasn't too much of like not knowing what's going on. So I'm for today going with the Quality of Mercy.
Yay.
Yay, good for you. I like it. I mean, I like that we can change our minds too.
Yeah, yes, we do get that effect.
Yeah.
Calling
all audiophiles and Trekkies. Prepare to boldly go where no podcast listener has gone before with the diverse soundscapes of BQN. We're not just a network, we're a universe of exploration, entertainment, and deep dives into the topics you love. Here's your star map to the sonic adventures awaiting you. Charting the Star Trek cosmos, we have all good things. Embark on a comprehensive journey through the entire Star Trek universe with insightful crew of Amy, Christos, Kelvin, and Kristin. From classic to current, they cover it all. Galaxy Class, Engage. Stephen and Stefan pilots this deep space mission, meticulously covering all aspects of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Infinite Diversity. Stay current with the newest Star Trek frontiers alongside Chrissy and Thad. Union Federation. Whether your allegiances lies with Starfleet or the Planetary Union, Kyle, Kevin, Amy, and Haley offer a unified front discussing both current Star Trek and the truly Trek at heart, the Orville. Crack open that book with Peter and the Trek Book Club podcast. Delve into the rich tapestry of Star Trek's beta canon. What's the T-Bab? Christos spills the latest Trek news and fandom insights with an essential LGBTQIA+ perspective, complete with engaging guest interviews. Our visual voyages that you can find on YouTube as well as a podcast are Trexperts Quiz. Think you're a Starfleet Academy graduate? Test your knowledge with Davey and MC's challenging Star Trek quiz show. And the View Screen. Tune in live on Sundays for your dose of Trek-inspired talk show. Kelvin and Amy host new 8-week seasons each spring and fall. Beyond the final frontier, we have Bargain Bin Gamer. Davey and Mitch, your self-proclaimed gamer guides, lead you to digital treasures, unearthing and reviewing the most affordable video game gems. Cinema Z. Grab your metaphorical popcorn for Mark and Matt's cinematic deep dives, unearthing overlooked films that demand your attention. History with the Szilagys. In order to never repeat it, tune in as Chrissy and Jason deliver bite-sized snippets of historical events from around the globe. And Transformational Journeys. Lex Rosa explores what it means to embrace authenticity in the face of societal expectations. To unlock deeper levels of engagement, try our patron perks. The Hive Mind is where you can join our random script readings, live reaction shows, and roundtable discussions. And check out our back catalog of It's Green, a verdant cornucopia of topics offering diverse and engaging conversations, and Amy's Math Moments. Discover the subtle and not so subtle mathematical wonders woven into the fabric of Star Trek. You can stay connected to our ever-expanding galaxy of content by following at BQN Podcasts on Instagram, Bluesky, YouTube, and Discord. We appreciate you choosing BQN to fill your auditory needs. Thank you for listening. Assimilate the audio. Kelvin, what do we got going for next week? What series do we get to dive into?
Okay, we are returning to a new series with episode 2 of our Music of Star Trek. And we are going to be discussing the episode and, more importantly, the music of The Next Generation's The Inner Light. So bring your Resican flutes, which I believe just sold at auction for I think it was $40,000
US. Yeah.
Wow.
Ooh.
Stupid.
Was it you, Christos?
No. This I can do a whole lot more with $40,000.
Yeah. Well, we would love to hear what you thought of today's show, and there are many ways that you can do this. You can join our Facebook group, the BQN Collective. You can join our Discord server, Or you can follow the network on Bluesky and Instagram at BQN Podcast to continue our discussion there. You can find the links and invite code in the show notes. Kelvin, where can people find you when you're not wearing your monster maroons?
I don't have a monster maroon. I would love
What?
one. I refuse to buy the one from this episode. I want an authentic, expensive, tailored one. Anyway, that's a whole other discussion. When I'm not doing that, you can find me in the BQN Collective Facebook group, or come from me directly on the socials at Kelvin's Timeline. And Christos, where can people find you when you're not officiating weddings on the Enterprise, but you've forgot the words?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at What's the T-Dev. You can find me in our Discord server, in the BQN Collective. I'm everywhere. Blue Sky, I feel like I have forgotten about, and so has everybody else. So don't try to get me there. You can also find me building the Enterprise D Lego set for probably another day. So, and Amy, where can people find you when you're not hiding in the trail of a comet?
Well, when I'm not doing that, you can find me here on the network where I am co-hosting Union Federation. We are in our Q series having a great discussion. We are now getting to the Q in Voyager, so that's been fun. You can find me in the Facebook group, BQN Collective, on the Discord server, and that's about where you can find me.
Now, you'll never hear a commercial here on BQN, and if you'd like to help keep all our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. For just $1 a month, you can watch raw, uncut, this very podcast, or you can see our reaction shows, script readings, and enjoy our special patron-only shows of It's Green and Amy's Math Moments. Visit patreon.com/BQN to get all the details and then watch your messages.
AGT, raw and uncut.
I nearly lost it when I read that.
If you know, you know.
Oh, is that too much? That would be the Mormon girl from Utah writing that.
It's all good. I'd leave it in. If becoming a patron isn't your thing, you can still support the show by sharing our posts on social media, talking about it with your friends, or hitting the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast, and leaving us a star rating and a written review. It's a 5-star rating if you can, folks. And also, I would also like to point out, I've done this a few times. It is very easy to share an episode with somebody, just even through text message. When you're watching there in your Apple Podcast, I've done this where you can just hit share and drop it right into someone's text, and then they have the link directly to an episode. So it's an easy way to share episodes. And by leaving your star rating and written review for us, that will help others find the show and build our little community of awesome Trek listeners.
At this time, we would really like to thank our own associate producer, JJ Seastrom, and a special thanks to Graham Kelly for amazing music, and to Kelvin for our weekly artwork. Thank you for listening.
We hope you'll join us as we search out
all good things.